Tuning your instrument is very, very important, especially if you want people to enjoy your banjo playing and you want to play along with other people. Years ago, we would just, play the notes and just try to hear it, or we used a pitch pipe, little thing you blew into, or a tuning fork. Don't use those anymore. We use electronic tuners. There's a lot of them. This particular one here is a little cheap one, quick tune. I don't even know if they make these anymore. There's the IntelliTouch. I have a picture of it there in the book. Just all kinds of different types of tuners and ways of getting your banjo in tune. The most important thing, though, is when you buy a tuner, you want to get one that's called chromatic. This says automatic chromatic tuner. Chromatic means in steps. In other words, all the notes on a piano, or all the notes on the banjo. A chromatic tuner will tune any instrument, just about all of the instruments. A banjo, a violin, a guitar, piano, all of them. So you'll want a chromatic tuner in some way to either attach it to your banjo, or most of them, like this one, has a little microphone. Now, the strings on your banjo, we're going to start with the one closest to the floor. The first one is the D string. The D string is closest to the floor. The string just above the D is called B. Above that string is the G note, G string. Then we have another D, and then the top one is a real high G. Now, if you have your tuner, I'm going to turn this one on here and let you see this. I like to start with the middle string, the G. You'll notice on the tuner there's a little fake needle on this particular one. If there's no sound, the little needle's all the way to the right. When I pluck that G, the needle should be towards the center, and the G, in this case of this tuner, will have a little square around it, which means it's in tune. Now, if that needle is to the right, then the string is too tight and I have to loosen it to get it to the center G. Again, if the needle is to the left, well, then the string needs to be tightened to again be in the center. It's pretty close, maybe a little high. The fourth string D, you'll notice that the D, that little D comes in a little square now. So the tuner's telling me that's a D note, and then when the needle's in the middle, it's in tune. And then the high G string would be the same. So whether it's the middle G string or the high G string, that needle should be in the middle, which indicates that my banjo's in tune. Banjo music is written on paper using a system called Tablature. It's a very, very old system that dates back several hundred years. Modern banjo books normally use tablature. There might be a few that have standard written notes like you see on piano, but it's kind of rare. So once you get the hang of reading tablature, you can play most any banjo book. Tablature is not my idea, so we're going to explain this, and once you understand it, you'll be able to play any banjo book that you want. Now, if you look on page 29, the Understanding Tablature portion, you'll see an example there. There's 5 lines running across the page, and there's a number, like a 0 or a 1 or a 2. These refer to the strings, the lines are the strings, and the numbers refer to the frets. The frets are these metal bars on your banjo neck. This bar right here up by the nut, that would be the first fret. So if there's a 1 on the tablature, that would indicate a note somewhere on the first fret. If it's a 2, it would be the second fret. If it's a 3, it would be the third fret. If it was a 10, it would be up here on the 10th fret. If it was 20, it'd be down here on the 20th fret, and so on and so forth. Tablature is a lot like a coordinate system. In other words, the line is the string, and the number is where the frets are at. on page 29, you'll see a 0 on the 4th line. Now that would be this string here. That's the 4th string open, which means I'm not going to touch or push down with my left hand on any notes. 4th string open. The next one is a 0 on the 3rd line, and that represents the 3rd string. And again, it's 0, so it's open. I'm not going to be pushing down any notes with my left hand. Now the 3rd note is a number 1, and you'll notice it moves to the next line. It's the 2nd line or 2nd string. Now this is the 2nd string here. That's the one 2nd up from the floor. That's the B string. And I would put my finger, my index finger, on that 2nd string just behind the 1st fret. See that? Just behind it. And I'd play that note, and that would be the number 1, 1st fret, 2nd string. The last number on that line is a 2, and that would be 2nd fret, and since it's on the 1st line or 1st string, it would be there. Now I probably could use an index or maybe a 2nd finger for that note. Probably the most confusing thing about tablature are the lines themselves, because when you look at the top line on the tab, it actually represents the bottom string. It's like the banjo is upside down. It's a little confusing at first, if you've never read tablature before, but you will get used to it. You'll start thinking that way, and it works for the mandolin or the guitar or dobro, any instrument that has tablature. That top line on the paper is the 1st string, the one closest to the floor. In front of the tablature, you'll see those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the string numbers. String 1 being the one closest to the floor, string 5 being at the top. In front of that is a fraction, 4 over a 4, or 4/4 time. That's called a time signature. That basically says that we'll have 4 counts in a measure. A measure is indicated by those bar lines dissecting the 5-line staff. If you look on page 29, you have 4 measures. We had a measure of the D string open, a measure of the G string open, then we had a measure of 1st fret 2nd string, and then we had a measure of 2nd fret 1st string. And that's how you read tablature. Review it a few more times, but it'll make more sense as we actually put this into practice. Beneath the numbers in the tablature system, you're going to see letters. Letters like T, I, or M. That refers to the right hand. This is thumb, index, and middle. Also, these fingers, some of the numbers, or some of the letters actually, will be larger and in bold print. What you're supposed to do when you see that is to play that note a little harder. For example, if I play those 3 notes, and they're the thumb, index, middle, and the thumb has like a larger T in bold, that means you want to play that note a little harder, more force, like that. Why? That's the melody. The banjo is melody starved. We are going to use a lot of notes in a system called roll patterns. And if the audience is not familiar with the song, they're not going to know how it goes, because it's just going to sound like a lot of notes coming out of your banjo. So we push certain notes. It's called accents. We want to accent. So anytime you see in the tablature a bold letter, larger and bold, push those a little harder. It could be thumb, could be the index, could be the middle finger, but push it just a little bit. Connecting the numbers, you'll see stems that come down. These are timing marks. A stem by itself would be like 1 count, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you see a bar connecting the stems, these are called eighth notes. They're basically just faster. If there are 2 bars connecting 2 notes, they're twice as fast as 1 bar. Those are called 16th notes. This will make more sense, again, as we put all of this into practice and we actually play. But that's basically how to read tablature and get the most benefit from the written page into actual production of a song.